the actual red light defending.
I think like
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian, man. Come on.
Am I live? Of course I'm live. First things first, people deluded. I'm back again. Appreciative to all of you lot tuned in. I hope you're all doing well and safe. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and of course, good night. Hope you're all having a progressive week and a progressive start to the year. If I haven't seen you before, Happy New Year. By God's grace, 2023 is lit for everybody. Appreciative of what we've built on this platform, people. 50 odd thousand subscribers and counting. On Twitch, we've got over 6,000. So make sure you're cross-following on the Twitters, the Twitches, the YouTubes, all of them. Deluded Gooner / Deluded Gooner 04. Hit up that, people. Make sure you're smashing the like button and you're commenting. Now, I don't like to be that guy because I do think, you know, obviously you can see the title in relation to Albert Sambi Lokonga. You know, it's not that he's scapegoated or he's public enemy number one and things like that. And not that anyone can do that to any players this season, much less Lokonga, because he's been a bit part player. He's barely played for Arsenal since he signed for this club, primarily in the Cups. But it is interesting because I don't know where I stand. Is he going to be good enough for Arsenal long term? Truthfully, we don't know. I would say yes, because when we had to have signed him, we knew that it's a massive jump from Belgium to the top division. From a human point of view, he appears quite reserved and quite a quiet figure from how he plays on the pitch as well, and actually how he came across in the All or Nothing. So we have to have done our due diligence in that regards. And obviously, if he's going to be a Belgium international player for Arsenal in the future, we have to have known how we're going to get him there. But as you know, time waits for no one and variables shift. It feels like he's a bit in a halfway house where other players are going to another level. We are collectively as a club getting to another level, and we're probably going to look at centre mid as great as Partey and Xhaka. They're 29/30. They can still be used for a number of years. But when you look in our defense and up front, you know, they're in their the oldest are in their mid-20s, majority are in their early 20s, and actually could extend that to players we're brought in. So on paper, Lokonga fits what we're doing and whatnot. But you know, it just feels like he's in that halfway house where he needs to go one way or he's going to go another. And I personally believe the way it's going now at the end of the season, if in an ideal world, we bring in a centre middle too, he goes out on loan, plays 20, 30 games, gets his confidence, and then we see what he'll be by the time he's 25. He's just turned 23. He's 24 this year, actually, in October. So again, when you look at it with that, you know, you look at our three centre mids. Xhaka is going from strength to strength. We'd all love one or two to be brought in. Partey is Thomas Partey. El Nene is a level or two below Granit Xhaka and Partey. Respectfully to El Nene, that, you know, he's our third in command and he's a vital guy for us this season. And he's someone that I wouldn't sanction an exit in January. I'd actually extend his deal, let him hang around like a spare part, really, as we bring in more midfielders and we further marginalise him. But there's a level of consistency. And we should be talking about Lokonga in the same way to a degree, just in terms of the Sakas, the Smith Rowes, the Odegaards, etc. I still retain faith in Lokonga because I think there's a player there. As I say, the first, and I'd love to know you lot's opinions, people. So yeah, I say yes because obviously he's brought here for a reason. Obviously there's potential for a reason. Not quite sure on why company compared him to Yaya Toure, but there's got to be a reason. And I always like to back players, and I think there's likable stuff. I do think he's got a decent level of technical ability. You know, I do think he could be a decent player. I still think he needs to define himself, whether he's going to be an 8 or a 6 or able to play there. Currently, I don't think he's smart enough off the ball, intelligent, or reads the game well enough to play as a lone 6. I don't think he's got the minerals from what I see right now to quite be an 8, but you never know. So I think, you know, he's in a bit of a unique race. And while we're doing this youngster thing, players are not playing because they're young. Yes, we're bringing in young players. Yes, that is the dynamics of this club, but players are playing because there's a level of consistency, and quite rightly so. Arteta thinks you can help us get 3 points. That doesn't mean he doesn't necessarily trust Lokonga, but evidently where the season's concerned, whether we're trying to aspire to top 4 or beyond, we need 3 points. So he needs to bet with the players that will get him 3 points. Lokonga, I'm sure in an ideal world, he would love, you know, I'm sure Arteta would love to play Cedric, Lokonga, you know, bit different, but the Rob Holdings, you know, Tomiyasu, Tierney, he'd love to give everyone Eddie Nketiah, even though he's starting, give them all minutes, but that's not how football works. Arteta messes around, especially from the position we're in now. His job is on the line, so managers have to back players, and I do think confidence is the major thing I see with Lokonga. I think he's got to get the confidence in himself, you know, using Eddie Nketiah because we've all seen the All or Nothing. I think he's got to get that confidence in himself. I do think the club is a nice place to be, you know. Saliba, Gabriel, many players have made mistakes this season and it's not been that deep. So I do think it's a great environment to be fearful, to be fearless, and that you make mistakes and you learn from them. It's a good environment to try and play football. I do think Arteta has faith in you, but I think he's got to find it within himself. No matter who's played for what country, how many times, who's achieved whatever in the game, whatever, you're here for a reason. You're a multi-million-pound signing for one, and you've got to believe you're as good as Partey and Xhaka, which I see in Eddie Nketiah. Clearly, he's not where Jesus is, but he believes that I can bring something to the table. He believes in his qualities. There's that self-belief in Eddie Nketiah, and obviously the gaffer's got that. I think the gaffer's got faith in Arteta. Arteta's got faith in Lokonga, because whether it's Oxford United or Man United away, you're not going to play if he doesn't believe in you. But I do think I need to see a bit more belief. Maybe the manager is telling him to take up certain positions on the field. Tactically, maybe Arteta knows that he looks a bit timid on the ball, so he's telling him to pick up positions so he shies away. But I just think for a midfielder, especially as an Arsenal midfielder, especially for a spoiled Arsenal fan in these 27 years where I've seen the Vieiras, the Silvas, the Cesc Fabregases, down to the Santi Cazorlas, all these technical footballers at the Emirates. I'm not asking Lokonga to play like that, obviously, because he's not, but there's a certain level of consistency, of tenacity, of ball ability, and I do think he's got a good range of passing. Maybe not the most expansive, but I do think there's a lot of tools. I do think when he signed for this club, he looked a lot better and looked a lot more confident. But still, I find myself saying the best game I've seen him have was probably where we beat Newcastle at home. I think him and Ainsley Maitland-Niles played in midfield together, and he could probably count himself unfortunate to be dropped. I think he's got to get that confidence. I think he needs to discover himself as a footballer, and I think he needs to have some better, simply put, have some consistency, because there's got to be a reason. With 5 subs, you barely play. You play in games like Oxford, and El Nene obviously scored, and El Nene looked a lot better and a lot of players looked a lot better when Xhaka and Zinchenko playing left back / centre mid came on the field. As you saw in the first half, Saka, Martinelli, Fabio Vieira, Eddie Nketiah couldn't have a sniff at Oxford. Yes, they were compact, they were rigid and stuff, but our midfield, it's not a skill set of El Nene. Lokonga's not really showing. Tomiyasu's a bad boy right back, and Holding's a decent centre back, but they don't have the passing range and the glee to the level of Benjamin White venturing forward or Saliba. So these kind of crippled us really. And it's another game where, again, for him, whether it's Oxford United or Man United away or wherever you play, you got to lay down a marker. And even though it was business as usual, you find yourself saying what's going on there. And it's no coincidence. You get hooked. We look a lot better. And maybe if he was showing certain consistencies, maybe our thinking in relation to summer with centre mids wouldn't have been as urgent, because God forbid, if anything happens to Granit Xhaka, Partey, or El Nene, we're probably in trouble if we don't bring in recruits. And then you're probably looking at, flirting with the idea of Fabio Vieira as an 8, Smith Rowe, Zinchenko, and Martin Odegaard playing there, in my opinion, before Lokonga. I hope Lokonga gets an opportunity this season. I hope he takes it. I hope him, Fabio Vieira, who's not as drastic as this guy, can take their opportunities, because we back everyone. But I do want to see a bit more, and it's not that time's running out, but it's if it continues like this until the end of the season, for me, and let me know your own opinions in the comment section, smash the like button, etc. You have to look at probably loaning them out, getting away from the Arsenal situation, going elsewhere, getting a loan, getting some minutes in a top 5 division, and ultimately getting your confidence back. Because when he looks like a duck out of water, he looks like a random 16, 17, 18-year-old that's just been palmed into the first team. Now, a bit harsh, Ethan, on where he hasn't played that much, but he's done something more significant. Scored against Brentford. I'm not asking Lokonga to score. I do think he's got some good actions. I actually think he played a lovely pass in the build-up to either disallowed goal or one of the goals at Old Trafford. But you've got to do that consistently. You've got to show some consistencies. You've got to show competence in your role. I don't know right now, based on what I'm seeing and what I believe, away from what I believe in Lokonga, I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing consistency. Yeah, you're not really getting games to have consistency, but consistency in games and training and just the manager's belief is one thing, and ultimately confidence. Lokonga at best probably has one of the 3. I'm sure he would disagree, but to me as a fan with what I see, and when you look at it, at 23 turning 24 this year, he should be relishing playing for Arsenal, really. He should be central to what we're doing, really and truly. Like, if I look at the mass people, he's played 61 times in the Belgium top division, people. That's when he's joined Arsenal. He's played 78 times for Anderlecht. That's a certain degree of experience that Smith Rowe, Saka, Martinelli, many a player did not have going into Arsenal season. In fact, I don't even think, he played in the Prem and he did have a couple of loan spells. But Benjamin White, we bought him off one Premier League season with Brighton. So I do think he's got more experience than some people have. You know, at the time of signing for Arsenal, Ben White didn't have 61 appearances. Now, obviously, no things are the same. He's only played 38 times for Arsenal Football Club, and actually in the league, I'm not too sure how much he's played. I can look at that. He's played 14 times this season. He's only played 62 minutes in the FA Cup, 195 minutes in the Premier League, 80 minutes in the EFL, and the vast majority of the 815 minutes he's played, 478 have come in the Europa League, where he obviously got 90 against Zurich, 90 against Glint, 84 against Glint in the return game, 67 in the 1-0 victory over PSV, 57 minutes against PSV when we lost, and obviously 90 minutes against Zurich. Where the league's concerned, he played 1 minute against Crystal Palace. He was then on the bench against Leicester. He got 2 minutes against Bournemouth. He was then on the bench again against Fulham. You know, to be fair, in the 2-1 victory against Aston Villa, he got 90 minutes, and I can't tell you what he did well there. He then, and we did have some injuries at the start of the season. He got 74 minutes against Man United, where I don't think he was any better or worse. He then got 12 minutes in the 3-0 victory against Brentford, and then he played 17 minutes in our 3-1 victory against Spurs. And since then, he hasn't been seen. Bench against Liverpool, bench against Leeds, bench against Southampton, bench against Nottingham Forest, bench against Chelsea in that victory. Wasn't in the squad for Wolves, where I think he did pick up a knock. Bench in the 3-1 victory against West Ham. Obviously on the bench in the 4-2 victory against Brighton, and in the 0-0 draw with Newcastle. And he got 62 minutes to be exact in the FA Cup, and 80 minutes against Oxford yesterday in the 3-0 victory, and obviously 3-1 in the 3-1 defeat in the EFL Cup against Brighton. He got 80 minutes. Now, it is difficult to show your consistency when you're not playing, but fundamentally, this is the reality of playing for a big club or playing in the Premier League. You're not going to play, you know, unless there's injuries and you take your opportunities. And as I said, it's not like he's not got experience. You know, you're playing for a massive club in Belgium, in Anderlecht. There is something there. You've played 78 times for Anderlecht. You played 38 times for Arsenal, and I can't really tell you too many. I think he did all right at Old Trafford away. Again, you know, I think he did well against I think he did well against Chelsea when he signed in pre-season, but excluding that, he did well against Newcastle. There aren't too many games you can remember. If we sat here with Smith Rowe, with Saka, with Martinelli, probably it's a bit harsh, but his direct competition in Xhaka, Partey, and El Nene, we'd be here talking about enough games, and it's difficult. They've got way more experience than you, but it is what it is in that regards. And as I said, I'm not trying to make this scapegoatism and things like that, but man, want to talk about how it's the you show. Same way Eddie was ringing off the alarm, Fabio Vieira got two assists. You know, we're talking about Xhaka's importance, whatever game when we're not playing, it is what it is. And it drew me to Arsene Wenger's comments on, it drew me to to Arsene Wenger's comments on Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Really, like I said, you know, and I'm not just making this up. Lokonga is 24 this year. He's 23 at the moment. He's contracted until 2026, and you're an investment for Arsenal. So I want to see you do well. If I'm completely honest, you know, before I look at Ian Wright, or let's see what's going on there with Ian Wright. What has Ian Wright said? I think with Lokonga, Oxford played very well. The time he was on, it was very hard for him to find space. And that's true. But at the same time, 9 times out of 10, if we keep developing, teams are going to play like that. Like Newcastle, to a degree, like Oxford. Teams are going to play like that. Unfortunately, but the thing is with El Nene, you know El Nene can pass a ball, but he's more of a ball-winning midfielder, box-to-box /6 sort of thing. With Lokonga, he can kind of do, he's got little raw elements of bits and both. You don't really quite know what he is. You know, I know Xhaka's role's been expanded, but you know what Xhaka can do in midfield. You know what Partey can. You know what El Nene can. This is why they're the three guys that you want to see playing football. You know, obviously El Nene's been at the club longer, but he's got a better partnership with Partey and a better complement for Granit Xhaka. And obviously Xhaka and Partey goes without saying. Lokonga hasn't been afforded that, and he's obviously betting against a lot, but that's his direct competition. And once again, if there's any funny business, then for me, I think you've got to explore just going with a bit more technicians in midfield with the other guys, the Zinchenko's, the Smith Rowes, and I'm probably missing out Fabio Vieira if I didn't say them kind of guys there. Then giving Lokonga that opportunity. If Lokonga got his opportunity to have a supporter in me, but I support my football club. And if this persists until the end of the season, then we've got to look at what we're doing. Unfortunately for him, he got taken off and Vieira stayed on, and Vieira was allowed to stay further up the pitch. To be fair, El Nene as well, him and Lokonga are not the most expansive on the ball, to go with what I said with Holding and Tomiyasu and Oxford United's, you know, rigidness. So that was always going to cripple the attacking players. Like you saw Saka, Fabio Vieira, Martinelli, Eddie and Ketia, they had to drop into their own half for the vast majority of the first half against Oxford United. Unfortunately for him, he got taken off and Vieira stayed on. He was able to show the quality once they got tired and he got a bit more space, which is true. You're hoping at some stage it will kick in for Lokonga, because at the moment it doesn't seem like it's happening for him. He's just got to be patient, I think. Amen, man. Seize your opportunity when it happens, people. So it is what it is. But, you know, it takes me back to what Wenger said in 2016 in relation to Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, who, although he's got a lot of, you know, great trophies at Liverpool and done well and actually doing all right in the opportunities he's getting now, with Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, you still don't know what he is. He's a bit of both. He can still play centre mid, play out wide, be used as a fullback. I'm sure a bit different, but some Liverpool fans probably having the same comments we had about Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain as well, people. But specifically, Wenger did say, people, this is in relation to Ox, but some of this could apply to 2023, about to say 2022, about Lokonga. He's not a young player anymore, which he obviously is. He's now 23. And at 23, you become a footballer who is the finished article. Before 23, you learn your job. At 23, you become more consistent. You know what's expected of you. You know how to deal with the pressure, with the situation, with the competition inside the squad. So is that too dissimilar from, could you apply a lot of that to Lokonga? Let's see if there's anything more. But he was so talented, so young, in the national team, so young. People forget that he was still a young player, and Lokonga's been capped once by Belgium. I think he has added some belief to his finishing. This is in relation to Ox, but added some belief applies to all midfielders. Now we have to hope that whenever he has the ball, something can happen. So, yeah, I don't think anything else would directly correlate, but especially about 23 years of age. And as I said, everyone's different. You know, everyone develops at different rates. Everybody's story is different, but he is currently 23, freshly turned 23 a few months ago, and is 24 later on in the year. So I hope by the time he turns 24, there's significant progress, or we need to either send him on loan to the Prem, send him on loan to France, you know, like what happened with Saliba and Balogun, maybe palm him off to Burnley and with company. You said he's the next Yaya Toure and you're playing expensive football for Burnley. Go and show us this with Lokonga. You know, at the end of the day, he's still got another 3 years on his deal and he'll be 26 by then. But we have to be open to probably sometimes just that with Tavares, I feel, which I'd love to be wrong because we'd have better players for Arsenal, nipping certain things in the bud. So I still retain belief in Lokonga, but for me, it would be brazy for him because in an ideal world, you know, Xhaka, Partey, El Nene, for me, are playing ahead of you. I do want to see Smith Rowe, Zinchenko, Odegaard, Fabio Vieira be able to play as eights. And I would bring in two centre mids. I would love an 8 or 2 and a 6. So only certain players can play, people, really and truly. You know, assuming we sign Mudryk, and there's a lot of talk of he can play left wing, he can play be crafted into a striker or a midfielder. I don't know any of that, but that's to add things in. And a club like Arsenal is always going to look for central midfielders. Mikel Arteta was a central midfielder, so maybe that's an avenue he's looking at. But I don't know. But I mainly made this video to know your own thoughts. What's your lots of talking points? Would you cut Lokonga loose? Would you give him some time? Would you loan him out? Would you just nip it in the bud and get it done permanently? Let me know in the comments. Turn your notifications on. Check out the rest of the content. I just dropped a transfer video. Most importantly, smash the like button. Stay blessed, stay safe, stay pursuing your goals. Appreciative of you lot for tuning in. And yeah, man, I'm out.
There's always that active defending.
I think it's like